Good morning. It's Thursday, September 30th at a little after 8 a.m. I have no trade currently on, and I'm not taking any trades, but I thought I would go over, something about Bitcoin for newer people out there and want to know just when to buy it. Not necessarily for swing trading or day trading or anything like that, but when to buy Bitcoin that has a high likelihood that it's going to make you money. Obviously, you want to buy when it's lower, sell when it's higher. I mean, we all get that concept, but before it happens, how do you know that it's a low or a high? Like buying right now, how do you know it's not going to plummet down and you lose half your money, go back down to where it's been in the past? And there are lots of different ways to think about this. I'm just going to share a couple of mine and what I personally will be using to buy Bitcoin now and in the future. Now, I do swing trades, but I also want to accumulate Bitcoin at good price levels with the thought of holding them longer term. If you are bullish, or what means that you think Bitcoin is going to increase in value over time, which I personally do, then you'd want to buy really anytime, but still you want to get it at a bargain. So I'll go over a few methods for how I see it as a bargain, and why it seems to go up and down. Well, if you look recently, you'll see here I have heavy resistance zone expectation and an accumulation zone. And these are based, for me, on Fibonacci levels that have proven over time to be areas. So why did it bounce here, and why do I have heavy resistance at this? Well, if you use the Fibonacci retracement and you look from the all-time high to that local high, see where it hits? The 0.618 level hits right at that zone. If you go from the high to the low, and that's the 0.618 level to 0.65 level, it bounced right at that resistance area and went down. And it does this over and over and over. If you look even at local, even shorter term, anytime you look at these levels and you say, okay, here's local low, the swing low to the swing high, and see where it bounced along that trend down. And it does this over and over and over again. Let's look again at this little one to this one, and you see here, and this came right in at the 200-day moving average, and of course it's a resistance area. This happens time and again. So there is one way you can see where is it likely to go up or down. If you did buy down here in this range, you should be looking at that point to where should I get rid of it? Where should I sell it? You could keep it for the long term, just keep it and know that it's probably going to go up and down, but eventually it's going to go up. Or like I would do personally, buying it here, I would have already had my stop set at this resistance zone, knowing or believing, I should say, not knowing, but believing that it's going to encounter heavy resistance there and maybe do a small pullback just in the short term, but I believe it will go up, which is why I have this accumulation zone here. And again, that accumulation zone, it's based on a couple of things, but one of them you can be sure is if you look at Fibonacci levels from the local highs. I believe it's going to run into some support in this area. If this trend line continues down, this trend that it's following, that would be a good time to buy, I believe, because I believe it will bounce off this level and head up. Why? Only because it has in the past. Does that mean it will? No, but there are other factors. And here's a big one. The reason I have this box shown is because I want to show you an index that is commonly used by people who look at crypto, and that is the Fear and Greed Index for cryptocurrency. I'm going to flip over to that chart, and right now, today, we are in extreme fear about the market sentiment, as you can see up here. The market is in extreme fear about the price of Bitcoin. So what are people doing typically when they're extremely fearful? They're selling out of Bitcoin, which is probably the exact opposite of what they should be doing. Why do I say this? Well, let's look at right now. As you can see, today, yesterday, we're in extreme fear. Last week we were in fear, so we're really dipping into the extreme fear zone. Why don't we look and see what has happened in the market when we have been, and last month we were in greed, by the way. Let's see what over time. Here's the fear and greed index over time, over the years, at least as long as this has been in place. Right now, as you can see right here, we've just dipped down into the extreme fear zone. The last time we were there was right here toward the end of May, like May 20th, May 17th. It was not quite extreme fear, but it was in fear. So somewhere around the 20th of May, all the way up until, say, 26th, it was already out of extreme fear. Say the 24th. Let's look back at the chart. So when is that period? Well, it's right here. Here's 18th of May to the 24th of July. And you see this whole area, that the market was in extreme fear. If you had been buying any point in this extreme fear, you would be in the money. So even if you just took the average, let's say you didn't buy at the perfect low and you didn't buy at the high, but you bought a few times in this area. If you look at that and then had sold as soon as it got to that 0.618 Fibonacci level that was already predetermined, that would have been a 45%, almost a 45% gain in your money, just based on that one factor alone, extreme fear. Okay, so let's look at again in the past. Let's go back to that chart, that extreme fear chart. The last time we were in extreme fear, like a period of extreme fear, was right here, which is about from, say, about the 9th of March to, say, maybe the 20th, 23rd of April. Let's flip back and take a look. So where is it? Right here. So middle of March of 2020 to the 20th of April 2020. So if you look, let's say you bought anywhere in that range. Let's just say the middle, the average price in that range, somewhere here maybe. And you held it even to here. That would have been, even if you sold it in this area where it flattened off, talking about a 55% gain. If you held it longer, you'd have almost doubled your money if you had held it all the way to the peak. If you continued to hold it, somehow continue to hold it, and I say somehow because if you followed the chart, you'll see you would have 10x your money, a 940% gain had you followed this one index. Now, what would tell you to sell it up here? Well, when was that? That was, so anywhere up in here was basically March to, say, April. Anywhere for that month and a half, you were up here before it started to go down. Let's take a look at the Fear and Greed Index. Where is that? Well, that is right up here in this area, right after you got out of what's called extreme greed. So extreme greed is where a lot of people are buying in the market, which is why the the price is skyrocketing. So extreme greed started November of 2020. It dipped down a little bit, but mostly went to the beginning of the year. If you look back at the chart, where was that happening? Right here. Starting right about here. And this is where that dip down was, but then went back into extreme greed. People are buying like crazy. Well, when you're in extreme greed and people are buying like crazy, what typically follows that is a crash to the downside. So anywhere in here would be a good place to sell. Don't be too greedy. Don't try to hit the peaks. Just when you enter extreme greed, sell. And if you did that, anywhere in that range, you would have had a 570% gain. So if you put $10,000 in, what is that? You'd have about almost $600,000, $574,000 just to this point here. So that's what I mean by buying. Here's another one. See this little spot right here? Here's another area. Let's see, just to compare it with the chart. November 23rd, 2019 to December, what was that? December 26th, 2019. If you go back to the chart, here we are, right here in this zone right here, this period of month and a half that was in extreme greed. Good time to buy. What happened right after that period? If you bought in this area and sold when you got levels, there's another 40% gain. So my point in showing this is that at least throughout its history, every time Bitcoin, the fear and greed index, has gone into the extreme fear, it has been a good time to buy. Where are we right now? Look back to that chart one more time. We have just entered extreme fear. The last few days, the day before, yesterday was also extreme fear. So we're not in a huge zone right now. We have just entered extreme fear. And at least in the past, whenever that's happened, we have had a good buying opportunity. If this dips down right here, which is why I have an alert set right here, it's heading toward my accumulation zone. I personally will be buying at this point because we're in extreme fear. We have some structure support levels here. To me, this all adds up to a good time to buy. I'm not telling you to buy, but I'm telling you that I am buying Bitcoin at this point. So I hope this helped. There are lots of other factors you can look at and you'll hear people talk about, but these are some ones that I look at that have shown to be reliable throughout its history. And I hope it works well for you should you choose to do that. But do your own research. Figure out for you when the best time to buy and sell is. I'm just telling you when I'm doing it. Have a great day and happy trading.